So today we're going to talk about the types of Agni, which is our digestive fire, types of bowel movements, and their correlated health concerns. So we're going to be drawing the connection between the types of digestion, the different types of digestion that are out there, their correlated bowel movements, and then the correlated diseases or imbalances that are commonly seen with those types of digestion and types of bowel movements. And when we can kind of connect the dots with those things as our bowel movements change, maybe seasonally or after eating something or after experiencing something stressful, and as we dive into our Ayurvedic and lifestyle toolbox, we can say, okay, so based on what I'm learning, what I know, I'm experiencing some inflammation. So I'm going to reach for these types of foods. I'm going to reach for these types of lifestyle therapies to kind of counter what I'm observing in my digestion and my bowel movements. So what is Agni? Agni is the Sanskrit term for fire, and in this case, for our digestive fire. Agni is responsible for the transformation of one substance into another substance. This process is called metabolism. Every organ in the body has its own Agni, which is the fire that monitors and regulates the health of that organ. So the health of one organ determines and is dependent upon the health of all of our other organs. The health of all of our other organs starts with Jatra Agni, or our digestive fire, or our digestive Agni. So when our digestive fire or when our digestion is out of balance in one way or the other, that is going to affect the health and the Agnis of all of our other organs. And the longer that goes on, the longer our digestive fire is having issues, then that's when we start to see imbalances or diseases set in different organs, because their health is determined by the health of our gut. So we always look at the gut first, and that inevitably will determine the health of our other organs. So our focus is on Jatra Agni. You don't need to memorize these terms by any means, but being that this is Ayurveda, we do use Sanskrit quite a bit. And we just recognize those terms in a different language. So when our digestive fire is strong and healthy, the health of all of our other organs and their functions increase immensely. So the four types of digestive Agni. There's balanced Agni or Sama Agni. This is a normal appetite and a normal weight per individual. So everyone is supposed to weigh different things. But when someone has Sama Agni, they're at their normal body weight for their unique constitution. And then we have Tikshna Agni. This is when Pitta is aggravated. It usually looks like a very strong appetite, too strong of an appetite, and they have a moderate to low body weight. So they are under the body weight that they should be at. Manda Agni is when Kapha is aggravated. It's quite a low appetite. They can feel full even without eating anything. They generally will have a higher body weight than what is appropriate for their constitution. And then Vishama Agni is when Vata is aggravated. It's a variable appetite, so it fluctuates, and they will generally have a lower body weight than what is appropriate for their constitution. So we're going to examine them one by one, break them down. So Tikshna Agni, this is sharp hypermetabolism. So due to the hot, sharp, and penetrating qualities of Pitta, Agni can become intense when Pitta dosha is aggravated. This causes hypermetabolism. And in this condition, the person has the desire to eat frequently, eat large quantities of food. After digestion, they can often get dry lips, or a dry throat and a dry mouth, a dry palate. They can also experience heartburn, hot flashes, and acid indigestion. Hyperacidity, gastritis, hyperglycemia, diarrhea, and colitis may also be produced by the excess of Pitta dosha. Pain in the liver, nausea, vomiting, and various inflammatory conditions are very common. And then emotionally, Tingshna Agni may lead to anger, envy, and hate. So you will very often see or experience, if you are experiencing any of the above symptoms, let's say acid reflux, you very likely could also be inclined towards anger outbursts or just really intense emotions. This person can become critical and very judgmental of themselves and others, and they also may have a very intense craving for the sweet taste. And most inflammatory conditions start with Tingshna Agni. So like I said, the health of all of our other organs and the overall health of our body and our mind is hugely influenced by the state of our digestion. And so when Tingshna Agni, when this sharp hypermetabolism is left unchecked for months, years, then you can start to see more severe inflammatory conditions, whether that's autoimmune disorders or rheumatoid arthritis, more serious gut issues. You'll start to see those developing. The Pitta type elimination. Pitta types are governed by fire, which means they have a constitution that is already hot, dry, and potentially irritated. They generally have a strong digestive system, but they can easily become overheated and inflamed. So Pitta types generally take on a lot of stress, and this stress is processed through the intestines as well. Normal Pitta stools are firm, but they break up when they're flushed. So they are a little softer than, say, a kapha stool or a Pitta Vata stool. They're brown to yellow in color, and Pitta people will generally have 2 complete bowel movements a day. So they'll have one within the first hour of waking, and then a second one after lunch. There'll be a mild odor. This is when Pitta is balanced. Now keep in mind, most people are dual doshic, meaning they have 2 doshas that are dominant in their constitution. So that means that you might not have 100% Pitta digestion. You might have some fluctuation, in all of these, but generally, when it comes to digestion, even if we're dual doshic, we're going to lean more in one direction, even if we have 2 doshas. So imbalanced Pitta stools look like loose or diarrhea. They're more frequent. So there's more than 2 a day, and that would mean there's too much Pitta, AKA there's too much stomach acid, liver heat, or bile that's being produced. They're yellow to brown in color due to a too fast of a transit time and increased bile flow, which is a yellow-green color that's coming from the liver. There's a strong pungent odor, and there's bloating or belching, usually is pretty common with Pitta type digestion that's out of balance. And they can also have hot or burning stools when eliminated. So what are some support tools for Pitta type elimination? Avoid spicy foods. So at this point, you've probably heard me talk about like increases like, and that when we're out of balance, we crave what keeps us out of balance. So if you're a Pitta person, you are already a spicy person. You have a lot of fire in your constitution. Like increases like, you are probably going to be attracted to spicy foods. And also because you're probably out of balance, if you're in this course, you will be drawn towards spicy foods, and that will increase the fire element in you, which you already have plenty of, and we actually need to be working on reducing. So avoid spicy foods to avoid aggravating pitta even more. Slow down while you're eating. Chew your food, put the fork down in between your bites. Pitta is often not necessarily multitasking, but have a hard time stopping working. So try to set that aside. Make lunchtime, dinner time, every meal a quiet time when you're just eating, and slow down. Take your time. Give yourself permission to take up space, to eat your food slowly. Eating more fiber, soluble fiber like oats and flax seeds, are going to help protect the gut from inflammation. And then insoluble fiber like greens create bulk, and those are going to firm up the looser pitta stools. So now we move on to Vishama Agni, irregular metabolism. So irregularity, you can already see which dosha this is related to, but just the fact that it's irregular, we know that that's going to relate to Vata dosha. So as a result of excess Vata, Agni can become erratic and produce irregular appetite, variable digestion, abdominal distension, indigestion, gases, constipation, and colicky pain. Even a small amount of food can turn into gas. And at times it can even lead to diarrhea and a feeling of heaviness after eating, and a gurgling in the intestines. The individual may have dry skin, cracking joints, sciatica, low back ache, or insomnia. And emotionally, this can result in anxiety, insecurity, fear, and other neurological or mental problems. When Vata is out of balance and you're experiencing Vishama Agni, there's often a craving for fried or pretty spicy foods. The cold quality of Vata slows down Agni, and the mobile quality makes it fluctuate, which is how we get to this irregular metabolism. Eventually, Ama toxin buildup is produced and can be seen on the tongue as a brownish black coating. Dry mouth, receding gums, muscle spasm, and most other Vata disorders take place because of Vishama Agni. So again, it's gradual, it's a progression. You can see Vata starting to become vitiated if your appetite starts to vary. It kind of waxes and wanes. Sometimes you're really interested in food, other times you forget to eat for the whole day. When you start to experience any bloating, a lot of gas, burping, these are our first signs. And then again, the longer it's left unchecked, it'll start to develop into more serious concerns. And the stages of disease, that's something we'll talk about in a different video. But this is one of the very first stages of disease, is when we start to see these signs in our digestion, whatever they are. And that's our body telling us, hey, something is not right. I need you to examine what you're eating, how you're eating, when you're eating. What is your lifestyle? What is your routine? What is your sleep? What is your relationships? Our body has this inherent intelligence that it's giving us signals, but our society is built around production and working nonstop, and slowing down to acknowledge the signals and the rhythms of our body. we've not made time for that for a very, very long time. But we are starting to undo that training, that dialogue. We're starting to undo that and create a new dialogue that when our body speaks to us, we listen, as disease prevention, as maintenance, in order to fully receive the information and honor the information that our body is sending to us. Okay, so Vata type elimination. Vata body types are governed by air, which generally means that they have more light and dry constitutions. They are nervous system predominant, which means they are feelers. They're highly aware, and they experience effects of stress on the intestinal tract more than other types might. So Pitta also experiences stress through the intestinal tract, but Vata even more so. Vata types will be very sensitive to stress and will very easily affect their intestines. We now know that stress is processed through the intestines, and this makes Vata types more prone to dry, sluggish bowels. Normal Vata stools, so when Vata is balanced, Vata people will have one bowel movement within 2 to 3 hours of waking. So they're slower than both Pitta and Kapha, but they will still have one a day. It's firm, but not too firm. It's going to be a darker brown color. It's complete elimination. You feel like everything has been eliminated that needs to be. There's no gas and there's minimal odor. Imbalanced Vata stools are dry or hard. They can be kind of like rabbit pellets or hard clumps broken up, but generally pretty hard and difficult to pass. They're less frequent, anything less than once a day, and incomplete elimination. It might just be a little bit here and there. Both frequency and consistency changes often. So you might be experiencing constipation for a while, and then it flips, and there's a little bit more urgent bowel movements with more watery or looser, and then it flips back to drier, hard, scanty bowel movements. They're generally going to be darker in color because they have a longer transit time, which allows the stool to absorb more bile, and that's going to make it darker. They'll have an astringent and foul odor due to this longer transit time, and they'll have more gas or flatulence. So how do we support Vata elimination? Staying hydrated. So because Vata types are so dry and they have a harder time staying hydrated, the digestive system needs water to function as well. And a way that you can support your hydration, so even if you're drinking, about half your body weight in ounces a day, Vata people often report still not feeling hydrated, or they don't retain the hydration. They're just peeing all the time. One thing you can do is add electrolytes into your beverage. I would recommend a homemade electrolyte. I have a recipe for that if I haven't given it to you already. Or simply just add half a lemon or a lime into about 32 ounces of water. Add about a teaspoon or 2 of maple syrup, good pinch of salt, and then some crushed cumin seeds. And that can act as a natural electrolyte. If you want to go a different route, I recommend the brand Element. It's spelled L-M-N as in Nancy, T, Element. It's just a very natural electrolyte brand, and they've got great flavors. Be relaxed when you're eating and take your time. do not multitask. So Vata is definitely going to be the one that they're working on so many things at once that slowing down and stopping and actually sitting down to have their lunch really doesn't happen very often. But that's really unhelpful for our digestion and our ability to actually process the foods. So when we're moving around, when we're multitasking, especially if we're not sitting, our body is not in, our nervous system is stimulated. We're not in a rest and digest state in our nervous system. That's the state that we need to be in and actually digest food. So when the body is active, it's not in any state to be breaking down foods. It doesn't prioritize it. And so the food doesn't get digested. And then that can contribute to the gas, the bloating, the heaviness, the burping, all of those things. And aside from that, constantly moving and not taking the time to sit down, stop multitasking, that in and of itself, that habit is perpetuating and aggravating Vata. So use your meal times to sit down, don't multitask, just be with your food, observe the smell, the taste, the texture, think about where it came from, think about how it's nourishing every cell in your body, rather than I just have to get this in so I can keep doing a million things at once. And then routine is one of the strongest antidotes for Vata. Have a regular, complete meal. And this is not, so complete being the key word. This is not like one or two food items. This is not a snack. Vata does well with multiple small meals a day, but they're complete meals. It's not just a box of crackers and some cheese for one meal, and then maybe some fruit for another one, and then so on and so on. It's a complete meal. And for reference on what that looks like, refer to the 6 tastes and building a balanced bowl video and or document, or ask me if you need a refresher on that. And then having a regular schedule in general. So consistent waking up, consistent going to bed times, having structure is super important for managing Vata. And yes, when you go to bed, when you wake up, the consistency or the inconsistency of that will affect your digestion and your bowel movements. So now we move on to Manda Agni, which is dull hypometabolism. So the water and earth molecules of Kapha dosha are slow, heavy, and cool, which inhibit the light, sharp, and hot qualities of Agni. As a result, excess Kapha can cause Agni to become dull, leading to slow metabolism. A person with Manda Agni can fast only on water for a few days and still put on 5 pounds of weight. The individual with this type of Agni cannot digest even a normal diet properly. Even without eating, there's heaviness in the stomach, cold, congestion, and cough. Oversalivation, loss of appetite, allergies, nausea, and mucoid vomiting can result. So some people may show edema, obesity, hypertension, and diabetes. There will be lethargy, excessive sleep, cold, clammy skin, and generalized weakness in the body. Mentally, there can be attachment, greed, and possessiveness. The subject may have a strong craving for hot, sharp, dry, and spicy food. Almost all Kapha elements are rooted in Manda Agni. So again, it's all starting in the gut. As we move on to Kapha elimination, Kapha types are governed by earth and water, and generally hold on to more water, making for a calm, heavier set constitution with slower metabolism. Stress is still processed through the intestines, but since kapha types handle stress well, their bowel movements are usually not affected. So of the three doshas, kapha is the steadiest, the most stable, the most endurance. When they're balanced, they handle stress really well. They're very easygoing. They have good boundaries with themselves and with others. They don't take on stress in intense ways like vata and pitta types will. But when they're out of balance, they've got their own way of handling stress. So normal kapha stools, they're regular and they're full eliminations, they're complete. Once a day within the first hour or two of waking. And they're generally a large quantity and they're well formed. There's a very small odor or even a sweet smell. And they're going to be some average brown color. In balanced kapha stools, you'll see mucus in the stool, which is a white or clear stringy substance that wraps around the stool. Some of the different types of imbalances that you'll see in stools, like clay-colored stools or mucus in stools or food particles in stools, all of those things. Those are things that if you are experiencing those, we should talk about them. Or if we haven't already, we should. But the mucus in the stool particularly, that's generally caused from a lot of processed foods or comfort foods. It can also be caused from just a lot of dairy and meat products. Sticky stool due to excess kapha and incomplete intestinal absorption. So we're not absorbing the fat that kapha is consuming. It's not being properly absorbed before it's being eliminated. And so it'll stick to the toilet bowl and or it's hard to wipe clean. So sticky stool is imbalanced kapha, and then pale brown or clay colored due to this liver congestion the kapha can be prone to, the stagnation, congestion in general. Support for kapha elimination, get more exercise. Kapha types need regular exercise to keep digestion healthy and the bowels moving. A brisk walk first thing in the morning is critical for supporting kapha type digestion. This can look like 5 minutes. What I like to do, because I have a fair amount of kapha, if I put it off, it doesn't happen. And so this walk, the first thing I wake up, depending on the time of year, put on warm clothes, whatever. And I'm waking up early, so it's dark. I don't have to worry about what I look like. It's not a thing. I put on shoes, I put on the clothes that I need, and I'm out the door. Or well, I'll have lemon water and like do a few things before that. But it's before I do anything else, because once I start the rest of my routine, like I'm locked in. I start my day. I'm probably not going to go take a walk. So know your rhythms, know your tendencies, and do this in a way that you just get it in. For me, it's first thing. But this is so helpful for overall energy and mental clarity, and of course, just stoking digestive fire and building the strength of digestive fire for kapha is really important, because they have naturally a colder constitution. We want to give them all the help we can to build the hot qualities of the fire. 2 to 3 full meals a day, no snacking, ideally. Snacking will bog down kapha digestion especially quickly. Snacking can be unhelpful for any of the doshas, but especially kapha. So stick to complete square meals. Kapha can get away with 2 meals a day. Generally skipping breakfast, lunch, and dinner are the main meals. However, having a nice breakfast of some stewed apples or stewed pears with some spices is great for kapha. First thing in the morning is like a light breakfast. But other than that, again, making sure that your meals are complete. We're not just snacking all day and calling that our meal time. We want to have set meal times and complete meals. Okay, so that is it for our Agni and types of elimination. Thanks for watching, and reach out if you have any questions.